Hello, brothers and sisters. The title of the message today is Being Led by the Hand of the Lord, Chapter 7, My Hometown. Subtitle number 1, He Led My Way. These days, I often talk about the past as I share food together with my wife. As I sit down at the dining table, I'm reminded of the mysterious stories in our old days. Other thoughts become sinking down. They're looking back at the past. I usually make people sad and painful, but for me, the more I think about the past, they're mysterious and thankful. I become automatically happy. Not because of other reasons. In everything, even the little things, God supported me and related me to His path. As I look back, even a little thing I could not escape from His hand. It is really mysterious. It is invisible. He's not audible. I cannot smell of Him. Where did He hide Himself? And He came to me in an appropriate time and touched me. I cannot help but to say it is so mysterious. Brothers and sisters who read this book continually maybe already presume what I'm trying to say. I think so too. The more I think about it, it's mysterious. I keep adding up. Every time I write, I feel as if I'm writing on new things. This is really mysterious also. Those exciting things are always new and exciting and pull my mind toward that direction. Those people who had been to the soccer field always want to go again and again. Those people who thought it's not exciting wouldn't go again. Those people who felt exciting, they chase after every game of those exciting teams. In fact, those games are almost the same, but they go again and again. I am that type of person also. When I think about the work of the Lord, it is more exciting and mysterious than watching sports games. Sports games are exciting, but they are not mysterious. But the work of God, there's nothing without mysterious feeling. That's why I think about it and think about it again and again. Many of people who look at me first, they would say, "Are you a teacher?" Maybe my face reading looks that way. Before my mom became pregnant, my father had a dream and he met a Confucianism scholar during Korea dynasty. My father wanted me to become a scholar in Chinese literature. When I grow up, my father wanted me to become a scholar. My father liked Confucianism so much, and he had a simple and honest hope toward me. The spirit of Confucianism is to learn and practice constantly. It is not that simple. For them, studying is food making up their character. They thought studying is just like eating food. In order to become normal people, they had to study hard those philosophy books of Confucius and Mencius and cultivate character. My father wanted his son to be equipped with that kind of character and engage in such kind of job. As the time passed by, Western culture came into Korea through Japanese people. The need of studying became different. In spite of the fact my father was born in 1800, I grew up in the era of national isolation. He did not want to acknowledge the transformation of the era. He did not study much, but his thoughts were just like a Confucianism scholar more than anybody. My father passed away at the age of 83. I have never seen him becoming furious, hated anybody, or condemned anybody. If he felt vexed, he just smoked a cigarette and forgot it. He never kept it in his mind. He was not greedy. He was not captivated by anything. He was just became satisfied with his reality. My mom wanted to show herself to other people, but my dad was not interested in such things. In buying furniture and repairing house, my mom and dad argued sometimes, I remember. My father spent half of his life in his hometown, and the other half he spent in the places away from his home. And when he died away from home. Some people approached to him and said, "Old man, you are getting old. Don't you think you have to return home?" Then he would respond, "Wherever I may go, there is a mountain and a green forest." He meant wherever I may go, they will be able to find a place that I can be buried. If he goes back home, he's the oldest elder in the prosperous family clan, and his first son is rich. He's a village leader, but he did not want to return home. He lived at the village that I was born. He lived there for about 25 years and passed away. He did not tell other people about himself, where is his hometown, who are living at his hometown, and his position at his hometown, and so on. So other people thought that the old man was just a wanderer who is just running a small mini mall right now. When he lived there over 10 years, his first son, who was over 50 years old, came to visit his father and bowed down to him on the ground. Village people were so surprised. My older brother went to Japan and came back to Korea after Korea was liberated from Japanese colonial rule, settled down at his hometown Posong and visited Wando to his father. 50-year-old man is old enough, and village people could not imagine that my father had such a big son, because my father was a quiet person who did not try to show himself off. Even though he didn't study much, he had the spirit of scholar of Confucianism, and his life was so much influenced by Confucianism. He allowed me to go to church from my childhood because of his attitude of always trying to learn something from other people. He had nothing to do with the church himself, but he loved Confucianism so much. But he thought there must be something good to learn in the church. That's why he allowed me to go to church. Later, he found out I don't like to offer ritual service to our ancestors, but he did not get angry, but he tried to digest somehow. When we perform ritual service to our ancestors, I did not like to bow down because I learned that bowing down to ghosts is worshiping idols in the church. I hesitated. One time I tried to avoid and just close my eyes and prayed quietly. He didn't say anything, and he just performed ritual service alone. As I look back, I have a feeling that I hurt my father's sentiment. There is a Korean saying, "Novice exorcists can kill other people." Shallow religious teaching hurt my father's heart. As I look back, I have a heavy heart. But he was not against my going to church. As he allowed me to go to church, I did not have any difficulty in my going to church. I don't remember exactly, but when I was little, he prepared the rod, but one day he cleared it away. From that time on, he did not interrupt anything, or he did not blame me or for anything. He knew exactly the time to prepare the rod and the time to get rid of the rod. My father's only wish toward me was my becoming scholar of Confucianism or a teacher. Suppose I studied toward that direction, He could have supported me and led me continually. But I was not interested in studying Chinese language. My school record was not good enough to go to teacher's high school. In my class, only first or second place student in school record that applied to teacher's high school. My school record was below average. Why such thing happened? I had breakfast with my wife and I said to her, suppose I could attend teacher's high school, I could have spent my whole life in the educational sector. The reason I could not enter teacher's high school was not a coincidence. After Korea was liberated from Japanese colonial rule, I became second grade student in September. Every day, all the students studied Korean alphabet. I studied Korean alphabet already at home. Moreover, I was studying basic morality book in Chinese language. So I had nothing to learn at school. In place of teacher, I was teaching Korean alphabet to our classmates. Teacher said to me one day, as he felt sorry, maybe, you have to go up to the third grade class. As I went up to the third grade class, all my classmates were older than me by 3 to 4 years. How could I catch up with those 3 to 4 year older students? So I was first place in the second grade class, but I became the last place student in the third grade class. From bed to worse, our homeroom teacher was painted a picture on the blackboard with the title of 3-Year Hill and disappeared. All the students didn't study at all. I could not learn anything at school. Later, I found out the fact that my homeroom teacher belonged to the Southern Communist Party. He was captivated by something else, communism. He was not interested in teaching students. From the first class to 2 students entered into teachers' high school, and from the second class, 1 student entered into teachers' high school, and he was the son of principal of our school. So I could not even think about entering into teachers' high school. From this point on, Lord was leading me on just to be used for God only, not in other places, not for other purpose. As I went up to the higher grade, I got so much damages, so I regret it. During those days, it was if we graduate from teachers' high school, we can become a teacher at the age of 20, and if you become 35 years old, you can become principal of the school and spend your whole life as the principal. It was better time compared with the situation of the present time. But God separated me from the route and disciplined me. My discipline was so harsh. I came down with a disease, failure, painfulness, and hopelessness, but I was grabbed by the hand of the Lord. I was walking the blessed path compared with any other path. It was so mysterious. The more I think about it, I am full of thankfulness. I always be reminded of those reality and environment over and over again. God's work is so mysterious and amazing beyond my comprehension. I could not understand during those days, but later and later I found out the meaning. It didn't belong to the human realm. As time went by, the width, the depth became different, and strength of the tide of grace, the becoming different, and surged into me. When I have leisure time, I'm reminded of those days. Maybe I'm getting older. The more I think about them, they are mysterious. The more I chew them, I taste more nutty taste. It's rare in the world. My father was not ambitious at all, but his only wish toward me was to push aside my own hope was folded up only for the purpose and wish of God. I was walking the secret path which nobody knew. I was led by the hand of the Lord. He wanted to receive my praise toward him. He himself is my eternal praise itself. Hallelujah. Till I reach to the end, Jesus will lead me. I'll never feel uncertainty about lower sympathy. To those who belong to Jesus, heavenly gate will be opened up. Whatever we face, the problem, the Lord will lead us. Even if we face the hardship, all will be well. Till I reach to the end, Jesus will lead me. His love is so great, they are beyond my words. Those who are in the Lord, they are in the grace. Even they may pass by the dry land, the spring water will well up. When we pass by the dark night, he himself will become the moonlight. It's a hymn book. Number 2, the time of confusion between right wing and left wing. Korean War was the largest war in Korean history. 16 countries took part in the war, and they helped us. And it was almost like the worldwide war. The scale and the damage of the war is beyond description. It is an important thing that turned my own life. I was in first grade in my middle school. I was attending middle school in Gwangju City. I heard the news that the North Korean army infiltrated South Korea. My seniors in my boarding house told me the story in detail. My senior took part in the Yeosu and Suncheon communist uprising, and he was captured by police and received the torture, so he returned to school late. He was much older than me, but he was only 5th grade student. During those days, middle school and high school were not divided yet. As the war broke out, students were divided into left wing and right wing by the influence of South Communist Party and Yeosu and Suncheon communist uprising. Those students who belonged to the right wing volunteered as student soldiers, and left-wing students were secretly waiting for the time that the North Korean Communist Army to come down south. From that time on, Korea was divided by ideology. The senior in my boarding house was waiting until North Korean Communist Army would come quickly. They heard the news that the Communist Army is coming down as they conquer the cities, Seoul, cross the Han River, Suwon, Daejeon, and so on. As they heard the news, they became excited. They said the communist revolution of Korean Peninsula is near at hand. They said, we have to hide in a secret place until North Korean Communist Army come down. They became impatient. I was just listening to them because I was too young. They don't pay any attention to me, so I could understand current situation of Korea. Right-wing students volunteered to become soldiers, but they didn't belong to any specific troops. They could not receive any supply. They fell into a chaotic condition. Hot summer, they took off their shirts, put on gaiters, carrying wooden rifle, and shouted unification of Korean Peninsula. Marching along the Kumnam-no Street, they faced North Korean Communist Army, but they themselves were destroyed by the army tank and the machine guns. As there was confusion of administration, weapons could not be supplied, they could not become regular army, they could not receive any army ID, they could not fight against communists. They just disappeared in a tragic way. They shed young blood in an unknown front line. They were disappeared without any traces. Left-wing students met North Korean army, received the mission of wiping out the right-wing people. North Korean army did not kill right-wing people directly. They supplied weapons to left-wing volunteers. let them wipe out the right-wing people. It was more miserable than the war itself. The difference of ideology among the village people, their revenge, private emotions, and started blood feast among the village people. It was more miserable and fearful than the war itself. The tragedy was beyond imagination. Those people who had weapons had the right to kill anybody. The only court was the People's Court of Communism. People shouted, "Kill them, kill them." They killed people right away on the spot. I myself saw that court directly. I'm the witness of that misery. Those left-wing students took part in the revolution movement when North Korean Communist Army withdrew, regular army left, and other communists were left behind. Just a few people could go together, but other people were hiding in the mountains. South Korean army and policemen tried to wipe them out. Some people came down the mountain, surrendered, went to the court, and after imprisonment, they were freed. One of my seniors received a weapon from North Korean army. He visited policeman's house, pulled 5 members of his family, and shoot them on the rice paddy. As the war was overturned, policemen visited that senior's house, killed all of his family members with the same manner. Both families were destroyed with the same manner in such a miserable way. One of my seniors received a weapon from North Korean army. He visited policeman's house, and such kind of tragedy happened. That senior could not go up to the north. He was isolated by South Korean army, wiping out strategy. He was so hungry, he came down to the village. One village people reported to police. He was captured. He was supposed to be imprisoned for 15 years. But he was released earlier. After 9 years, he was released as he was recognized in the prison as a sincere person. I met him one time after he was released. They are all victims of ideology. Wars break out because of the benefit-damage relationship. But as communists entered into human history, ideology stimulated war in various places of the world. It was more serious, cruel, and miserable than the benefit-damage relationship. It was a great tragedy that kind of war broke out in Korean Peninsula. There is no normal people while there is no normal people while there is a war. War makes people all become crazy. The most valuable life of people is more precious than the whole world, become like that of flies. Morality that people would say it can reach to the dimension of God become degenerated, worse than the wild predators. Predators don't kill other animals when their stomach is full, but people are worse. They kill so many people. When the war broke out, everything is entangled in confusion. I met the war as a young boy away from home. I was at a loss. I didn't know what to do as the whole society fell into topsy-turvy. But my senior went outside and came home hurriedly. He told me the way to go down to my hometown. My senior was the nephew of my cousin brother's wife. He helped me to escape quickly. So I went to the train station. Maybe everybody already ran away and the train was not available. I was supposed to take a train to Mokpo and take a boat to Noah Island. I checked here and there. There was only one bus remaining going down to Haenam. It was the last bus. With the help of my senior, I was able to take that bus. The road was not paved. The road was so bumpy. It was getting dark when I arrived at the Namchang Haenam. From there, I was supposed to take a boat to my hometown, Noah. I did not know anything. I just followed the other people who were just walking to the west, to the west. There was no road. We just walked along the coastline, past the sand and pebbles, over the rock. We kept walking toward west only. Along the coast, there were so many midges. Those midges came into our eyes, nose, and ears. I was swaying away those midges, and my feet just walked unconsciously. I could not have food. I was so hungry. I wanted to stop walking, but if I sit down, I may die there. I had to walk until I fall down. From Namchang to Tangkut village, it was 23 kilometers. As there was no road, we just walked along the coastline. It may be farther. About 10 people were walking together, and I was the only young boy. They were tired, and I was tired too, as I was too young. How could I walk that far without stopping? It's beyond imagination. Maybe I was not myself while walking. When we arrived at the Tangkut village, it was the middle of the night. There was no boat, but they borrowed the boat, and we arrived at Noah Island. It was already a break of dawn. Well, we arrived at each person's hometown. We started walk again, bring forth every ounce of our energy. From Sanyangjin to our village, Imokri, it was about 6 kilometers. Each one entered into their home. When I arrived at home, it was the morning time. How could I walk such a long distance? It's hard to understand and remember. Thank you. Hallelujah. May God bless every one of you. Thank you again. Thank you. Thank you.